biblical archaeology, the continuation with the history of writing. I'm only concerned with the history as it is in the Mesopotamia area, because that's where the Bible came from. And I have this book now. It's like huge. This is a really important book. It summarizes how to read the whole Bible. It gives you Genesis. What is the general thesis of Genesis, Exodus, and so on. So you can know the context, the background, and therefore be able to read each book. And this is part of a series that David Pawson has had when he was younger, to encourage people to read the Bible through. And it was revolutionary. People never did that. In church we take excerpts out here and there, but to read it through is really something else. I'm trying to encourage people at least to read the Old Testament. I'm doing prosperity. We read Proverbs. All the lessons are there. How come we're not prospering? Because we are not reading the Word of God, where it tells you how to. And here I'm reading Genesis, and of course, the first 5 books of Moses is contested, and it says that the general agreement, which is becoming very popular even among pastors. We have a lot of agnostic pastors who doesn't think that Moses wrote the first 5 books. If he didn't, if it was later written by editors much later, when writing caught up with the Bible, they mean when there was the availability of biblical Hebrew, when we have the square Arabic square script of Hebrew. And that's probably after the exile, when they went into Babylon, and that was where Aramaic was used, and then they picked up Aramaic, came back with it, and developed the new biblical Hebrew with the Aramaic square script, which we're familiar with today. So what about, was there no writing? There was writing, but we treat Moses as if he was an idiot, not realizing that he lived as a prince, a pharaonic prince in the house of Pharaoh. He was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. God, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, took this little baby from the water. His name Moshe is Egyptian. It's water. It means drawn from the water. Understand that. And what was their writing? He didn't write in cuneiform, which was the prevalent writing then. He didn't write in hieroglyphs, which the Egyptian priests used. What script did he use? And we know that much of the Bible, as in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we found 2 scripts, the Aramaic square script and Paleo-Hebrew. Paleo-Hebrew came from Proto-Phoenician writing. Proto-Phoenician, which was developed in the 1300 BC, but that's kind of too late for Moses to have used that. And Proto-Phoenician is very important because that's really the mother of all alphabets. That's where Greek comes from, Arabic, Paleo-Hebrew, Latin. So Paleo-Hebrew is very important, but Paleo-Hebrew was developed so much later. And as I was Googling and YouTubing, I came across something else, Proto-sinaitc. What is that? They found in the desert of Sinai another script. In the desert of Sinai in Serabit al-Qadim, this place has been mined for turquoise. Turquoise was mined there for centuries. The Egyptian had a temple there to the goddess of turquoise, Hathor. So of course you would expect hieroglyphs there. There was a temple there, all kinds of hieroglyphs, remains were there. And then found among the stela, there's another scribbling. What is that scribbling? The first few discoverers, Petrie, did not really pay much attention. He just recorded his trip. But it was later Alan Gardner looked at it and tried to read it. Now that we know how to read Proto-Phoenician, and they realized that you could almost read this new script, which they call Proto-sinaitc, because of the similarities. That was in 1904, 1905. And then in 1995, I think, inside of Egypt, and other groups of discoverers found a similar script, which they date back to even earlier, 2000 or 1800 BC. And they saw traces of hieroglyphs in this script, which they say is Proto-sinaitc also. So you see a development of another script with links to hieroglyphs. And that's, inside, this is the Wadi al-Hol inscriptions. Language is not stationary, it develops. As we know in our own English language, that in the old English is different from what the English that we speak today. We could understand them. And also the English of the future, or something, where the kids use today, where they say 12 words and 9 of them is like. Okay, I borrowed that, it's not mine. So here, it's like, is this the missing link? That the Proto-sinaitc is the mother of all alphabets, which led to the development of Proto-Phoenician, which led to the development of all the other alphabets. Why was it here? Understand that the Canaanites were in Egypt too. The Hyksos, pharaohs were Canaanites until they were driven out. So it would not be inconceivable that the Canaanites developed this script, albeit it had links to hieroglyphs, but it terminates that far. Hieroglyphs is pictorial. The script is phonetic in the sense that it's not pictures. For example, you say this is a bird, instead of drawing a bird, it's a b. So you have an alphabet, so to speak, for that B word, and so it develops as 22 consonants. The early writing was just consonants. Even today's Hebrew is just consonants. You put diacritical marks to denote whether it's a, e, u, I, whatever.
Graphic letters can be divided into 3 periods. The early Semitic alphabet existed between the 20th and 12th centuries BC. However, note that the 20th century date is based on the oldest inscriptions found thus far, and it is possible that future discoveries may push the date of that Semitic alphabet back even farther into history. The Middle Semitic alphabet, the Phoenician and Old Hebrew, was in use between the 12th and 4th centuries BC. The late Semitic alphabet, the square Aramaic script, was in use between the 5th century BC and into the modern times, with the modern Hebrew alphabet that is still used today. To date, the Wadi el-Hol inscriptions found in southern Egypt are the oldest Semitic inscriptions found and date to between the 19th and 20th centuries BC. The Sinaitic inscriptions from the Sinai Peninsula date to about the 15th century BC. The Ela Valley Fortress, the Tel Zayit Abecedary, and the Gezer calendar are dated to about the 10th century BC. Between the 12th and 10th centuries BC, the ancient Greek alphabet used the same Middle Semitic script. The Meshestel, or Moabite stone, and the Ammonite inscriptions found in Jordan date to about the 9th century BC. The Salom inscription from Hezekiah's tunnel and the Tel Dan inscription, which mentions the house of David, date to about the 8th century BC. The Lachish inscription date to about the 6th century BC, and the sarcophagus discovered in 1855 in Sidon dates to the 5th century BC. The majority of the scrolls from the Dead Sea caves are written in the late Semitic script and date to between the 2nd and 1st centuries BC. However, a few of the scrolls found in the Dead Sea cave, such as the Leviticus scroll, uses the Middle Semitic script, showing that the script did not fall out of use completely. The letters from General Simon Bar Kokhba in 135 AD during the Second Jewish Revolt against Rome were written in Hebrew with the late Semitic script. The late Semitic script continued to be used for the works of the Talmud, the Masoretic Hebrew Bible, as well as printed Hebrew Bibles of today.
So this is what's been found at Serabit. So you have this figurine and there are little marks there. And if you look here, this looks like a hay in Paleo-Hebrew. And this is water, which is mem. So these are the various stela together with Egyptian figurines. They have these inscription, which is not hieroglyphs, nor is it hieratic or demotic. It's a totally different script, albeit derived from hieroglyphs. And we can recognize some of them because Paleo-Hebrew and Proto-Phoenician uses it. So here, this is water, which later developed into mem. This is the original way of writing water. And history of this is the decipherment of. See that fish? That fish is, I think, is Dalit. They're fascinating. So this probably is the precursor for Paleo-Hebrew and for Phoenician. The Phoenician alphabet is where everything started from. 1300 BC, you have the Phoenician alphabet. And from it comes Paleo-Hebrew, from it comes Greek, Latin, and our alphabet comes from it too. And very likely, this scribbling is the precursor of that Proto-Phoenician that we use later. So this is found in the Sinai Desert at a place called Serabit. And this could be the precursor, the start of our alphabet, of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, and therefore the Latin alphabet and Greek alphabet and our English alphabet.